Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? And welcome to the Just Chatting Gaming News and Trailers for August 11th. I hate to tell you, but very similar to the last episode of this show we did, where I said there was no news in all trailers. Well, we're doing it again. There's no news in all trailers. So, let's go ahead and start with the launch trailer of a game that I have heard nothing but good things about. Everybody says this is a Game of the Year contender. I played the demo. Demo was great. But yeah, we have the launch trailer for it. So let's check it out. I'm going to stream this one of these days.
Come on now. Now. What?
Uh-oh. This game's actually got pretty good Twitch integration, too. It's a little buggy. Hopefully they're going to fix it. Maybe by the time I stream it, it'll be fixed. Cult of the Lamb. Good stuff. Yeah, the Twitch integration, like I said, is really, really good in that game when it's working. All right, next up we have yet another launch trailer. Oh, I should back up here real quick. For those who don't know what that game is that I just showed you, imagine Hades mixed with Animal Crossing. If Animal Crossing was weird and demented. So it has like the roguelike and combat of kind of like Hades, but then it has the like city building management as well. So it's like I said, I've heard nothing but good things about it. Next up is the launch trailer for Rumbleverse. This is a wrestling battle royale. I think this game could be massive if it takes off. It has the chance. Take a look.
Looking for action? You found it. Welcome to the Rumble. The most glorious warriors are gathered here today.
It's been long enough, ain't no way enough. Came to shake 'em up, running to interrupt, make you wake 'em up. Time to go to work, no delaying us. No replacing us, never change it up, made the game adjust. Now we're about to light 'em up, let 'em know what's up, cause we're back.
There's a real energy radiating off the competitors today.
Too hot for real, gasoline, I burn up the chill. Piece of heat, I burn up the skill.
Oh, that's a hit!
Stronger, coming fresher, and we better than ever, yeah, we're back.
Definitely got like the Fortnite vibe a little bit. Except for it's not a shooter. Like I said, it's a wrestling game.
Amazing! What an outstanding match!
Yeah, we might have to take a look at that as well. All right, this is a trailer for a new game, I think. It's weird. It's actually labeled as the Gamescom trailer, but Gamescom isn't for like another week and a half. This game is called School of Magic. I'm trying to recall if we've seen this one. Let's get into it and we'll see. Yeah, I don't recall this. Is it like an Is it like an ARPG with cards or something? Oh, and you're like, okay, you're like learning spells. So there's like dialogue options. Roguelike deck builder hack and slash. That's kind of interesting. Have to keep an eye on that one. Next up, another game that I don't know if you guys have heard of. This is Way of the Hunter. This is from THQ. Actually, speaking of THQ, I think I heard there's a THQ like press conference or something tomorrow. We might have to cover that here on the channel. But let's take a look at this game.
Way of the Hunter is a true next-generation hunting experience from developer Nine Rocks Games. It all begins here, a lodge owned by your grandfather, who taught you everything you need to know about hunting when you were young. These skills and more will be put to the test as you step in and run the family business for him while he takes a break, recovering from an illness. The game is set in 2 vast territories, each featuring 55 square miles of open-world terrain. Experience the ancient hunting grounds of the Pacific Northwest. From elk and deer to waterfowl, from mountain to valley, the Pacific Northwest showcases diversity of challenge and the very best of American hunting. You'll also test your hunting skills in Transylvania, once one of the most popular hunting destinations for European nobility. It becomes your hunting paradise to track everything from wild boar to gray wolves. From the deepest forests to rolling plains, this territory is steeped in history. These remarkable landscapes are controlled by a sophisticated system that simulates the life cycles of 2,500 animals in the Pacific Northwest and another 3,000 in Transylvania. Featuring a 24-hour day-night cycle and true-to-life flora and fauna, Way of the Hunter's realistic atmosphere immerses you in the wilderness and the heart of the hunt like never before. In Way of the Hunter, you can follow the story or choose your own path in free play. The adventure starts at Bear Den Ranch, where you'll acquire rifles and stock up on gear and ammunition to prepare for the hunt. It's your base where you'll work to supply ethically hunted meats to elite restaurants that require the highest quality standards. Clients from high-end local restaurants will reach out to you, and it's your job to bring home the game and pocket the cash. You can keep tabs on each order by accessing the objectives menu, where you can track markers, tasks, and jobs. In Way of the Hunter, you can choose from a wide variety of firearms, ranging from tried and trusted classics right through some of the most advanced contemporary sporting rifles on the market today. For every animal you hunt, there's a corresponding firearm. And say, for instance, the ideal weapon for hunting the roe deer is a Tier 4 rifle. There
How
are
about a bow?
6 firearms tiers,
Can I use a bow?
starting with shotguns at Tier 1 and going up to Tier 6, which are the highest caliber firearms. Choose from the best officially licensed hunting gear available from leading manufacturers including hunting rifles from Remington Firearms, Primo's Calls, the Bushnell Prime 10x42 binoculars, and ammunition from the likes of Remington and Federal. You can store all your gear back at the lodge or in the trunk of your car. In Way of the Hunter, there's more than one way to hunt game. You'll need to explore and gain a deep knowledge of the terrain to understand where animals are at different stages of their day. Learn their habits, their habitats, and where they eat, drink, and sleep. There are dozens of animal species,
It's a bunny.
each modeled with realistic behaviors. For example, if a deer hears you running or trampling through brush heavily, it's easily spooked. Play smart and be light on your feet. To
Can I
track
go
game,
prone?
Keep your eyes peeled for signs of life on animal paths, such as footprints, droppings, and urine. To assist you, stand still and use the Hunter Sense feature, which highlights important elements in the environment. Of course, for a real challenge, you can play without Hunter Sense. or customize the elements that'll be highlighted in your world to your preference. Successful hunters must use all of their abilities and senses.
Call in the
You can go away
airstrike.
the game, hunker down, stay silent, and listen out for sounds of life. Use hunting stands to watch out for animals to feed, water, or simply break cover.
What if you can
Callers
co-op
lure
this?
your target closer, but be careful. If the game catches wind of your scent, there'll be
By the way, I don't need those in-game call things. I can just do that myself.
alerted to your presence and may move away. Now, however you choose to hunt, big game, small game, or birds, and whichever firearm and gear you use, you must be aware of your hunting pressure on the animals. If you hunt too often in the same zone, the animals feel your pressure and move on to another area.
That's interesting.
Once you've tracked the game you're looking for, the moment of truth draws close. Use binoculars or your scope to determine the distance, ballistics, and shooting range. Once you're 100% confident, line up, take a deep breath, and it's a clean shot that's pierced at least one lung. If an animal's lethally wounded but still moving, use hunter sense to track it and complete the hunt ethically. Place a marker on the spot where the animal was hit and investigate for blood tracks. Pink blood and bubbles means a lung was hit. And now you must end the hunt. When you take a successful shot, you're presented with the shot review screen. Bullet
Wow.
cam shows detailed information about the hunt and how and where you can improve next time. It's important for hunters to only take the cleanest shot possible to eliminate suffering for the animal. That's the way of the hunter. Back at the lodge, you can display trophies from successful hunts. They'll increase their magnificence depending on the animal's fitness and age. Animal habitats consist of groups that share a common average fitness value, which you can alter in two ways. Hunting low trophy score males will drive up the fitness value of the habitat, while hunting high score males that are better for the gene pool will pull it down and produce lower quality trophies over time. The more you explore the Pacific Northwest and Transylvania, the more areas you'll open up. Some regions have restricted access, and you'll
Do you get like well, I guess they showed a Jeep earlier, but I wonder if you get like a four-wheeler or anything.
need to get permission to hunt on them by purchasing access or taking on jobs. To navigate the vast world of the Way of the Hunter, you can use a variety of tools, including objective markers, fast travel, and vehicles you can drive, store equipment in, and customize. You can also team up with friends or other hunters and venture out into the wilderness together to work as one. A new world of hunting awaits. Welcome to the Way of the Hunter. Coming soon to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S.
Not on Game Pass. See, I'll be honest. Normally a game like this would not appeal to me, but this actually looks kind of cool. I feel like it'd be a very chill experience as well. It seems like the open world part of it is like massive. Might try that, chat. Might have to play that game. I'm gonna be very curious to see what the reviews are. All right, next up is a trailer for an expansion of a game that I have not streamed yet, but I have to. We're probably gonna start this game on stream like very soon. It's probably gonna be a weekend game. So we have an expansion trailer for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
The monster in the mirror will spit fire, poison your mind.
Oh, they're adding a new class. The Bright Color. New zones. 100 plus new guns. Gear. Okay. Whoop. Play it. Not day one on Game Pass. All right, we have an expansion, or sorry, actually it wouldn't be an expansion, it would be a season. No, a league is the word they use. A league trailer for Path of Exile.
Exile. You have wandered far to arrive at the shores of my lake. A hidden realm I have overseen for longer than time itself.
This is another game that every time they do a new league, I'm always like, you know what, I want to actually play it for real. I've dabbled in it a little bit, but I've never made it very far.
Rayclast is reflected here.
So every
Reassemble
league,
it as
they
you
introduce a
see
new
fit.
mechanic. So that's the new mechanic.
Distorts reality. Beware the image that strikes back.
Okay. They're reworking a lot of stuff.
The lake calls you, Exile. Will you endure? Or will you drown?
August 19th. Cool. All right, and we're down to the final two trailers, and both of these are Gotham Knights. So we're gonna watch the IGN. This is about 10 minutes long. They did a video with the developers talking about basically just Gotham City, and I think they talk about like the open worldness of the game and stuff like that. So let's take a look. I'm pretty excited for this game. I really hope it's good.
In the 1650s, 5 families left Europe, eventually landing on the rain-swept islands that pepper the mouth of what would one day be called Gotham River. Those families, the Waynes, the Cobblepots, the Elliots, the Arkhams, and the Kanes, would build a colonial fort together and sow the seeds of centuries of dominance in the area. Gotham City was born. The city quickly spread beyond its original bounds, developing 5 boroughs, and in each, one of those 5 founding families would take root. In the early days, the Kanes established themselves on Gotham's natural harbour, now known as Historic Gotham, tying the family to their new country's military might, building ships and weapons of war. By the 1850s, Gotham had become a major trade hub, helped along by the industrialist Cobblepots and their smoke-belching Southside steel mills. Gotham continued to transform over time. In the 1920s, the Elliots took hold of the 20th century's newest means of control, mass media, and built downtown Gotham in a new Art Deco image. By the 1960s, Gotham had truly become a patchwork of industry and architecture. The Arkhams settled in North Gotham, building their famous asylum. Yes, it's in the game, and no, it's not as you've previously seen it. The Waynes, meanwhile, built their billions in New Gotham, helping advance the town into a new, technological age. Which brings us to the present day, and the Gotham you'll be exploring as Batman's protégés in Gotham Knights, an open world as soaked in history as it is by neon light and vigilante-friendly shadow. Warner Bros. Games Montreal created that history early in production, a whole new timeline for a whole new version of Gotham City. And it isn't merely window dressing. The timeline informs everything from the plot, to the gameplay, to the game's biggest mystery, the Court of Owls conspiracy. The team didn't just build an open world to play in, it's truly trying to build a city.
Another long night of crime and violence.
It's Stallone.
Key to this take on Gotham are those 5 boroughs and the worldview of the families that historically controlled them.
So for us, the 5 boroughs, it started with the families. The families moved there, they built imposing structures within those districts. So then we build around that to where the identity for those districts really is based off of that family.
Within those boroughs, the team tries to tell stories without simply having someone speak them out loud.
If you visit a city in real life, it's hard to tell some of that history. So because we're making a game, really what we want to do is kind of obviously reveal some of that stuff. So there's a lot of areas that are kind of stuck in time, you know, like even something as, you know, kind of generic as construction, like it becomes interesting when it's halted construction, or it's now abandoned and overgrown, or it's ruins. You know, all those things are more interesting for the player than, you know, just a modern city. So we tried to have a lot of those areas where it's almost stuck in time, so the player can really experience what it was back then a little bit too, and see how the city evolved.
Robin's teleport is kind of
gameplay
interesting.
basis for every new environment. Take the Cauldron, built into the Cobblepot's lower Gotham area.
We always would like to tell a story with every borough, and there's one specific one that is not necessarily related to the family, but is an effect of some of the projects that those families undertook, which was a mining operation that happened in a riverbed. So they decided to wall off two sides of a portion in the water, and they dredged it for mining operations. It would attract workers for the mining operation. It was low-cost housing. It remained like actually a slum.
The Cauldron's history is written into its walls, with tumble-down buildings and cramped, unplanned streets, all set in the shadow of the more prosperous districts around it. But all of this is a distinct gameplay choice too.
This spot is kind of like a transition area between the financial district and the south side. So we have like two very different themes, while being in a third theme that is very organic, has a complete different way for the player to navigate over. It's a lot more parkouring. So the player always has the choice to pick the best tool and the best navigation verb to be as efficient as possible. And we have different neighborhoods that will give you different experiences.
This interplay of history and gameplay can be seen across the city. The once beautiful Robinson Park is a symbol of the city's decay, but it's also an open space where your usual stealth tactics may no longer work in the same way. The enormous Elliott Center is a literally gilded reminder of the family patriarch, complete with a museum exhibit about the family inside. And it's also a complex, multi-layered bit of vertical level design built to house the Mr. Freeze boss battle later in the game. And it's not just that timeline that acts as history here either. While this is a new take on Gotham, it includes many references to the comic books it's drawing from. Of course, there are buildings you'll know, right down to deep-cut references like Noonan's sleazy bar from Garth Ennis's Hitman series, but the very fabric of Gotham itself acts as an Easter egg in places. Perhaps most interesting is that this Gotham has a public history and a secret history. We already know the game will center on the Court of Owls, a shadowy, manipulative group born of the founding families. Gotham itself will reflect that conspiratorial past too.
One of the things that we love about the Court of Owls, aside from the fact that, you know, that it's a new, fresh addition to the Batman canon, is that they represent a threat that is so embedded and so intrinsic to Gotham City that even Batman doesn't know about it. And the notion of a threat that is so intimately tied to a city that he considers to be his city, that he knows like the back of his hand, that he's been patrolling for, you know, literally decades at this point. That's a very intimidating and scary idea. With that in mind, what we knew is that we needed to give you a sense of Gotham's history in order to be able to show all the ways in which the court is embedded in that. That feeling that Gotham is kind of an adversary, and that Court of Owls is the embodiment of that, the personification of it.
The phrase commonly used at the studio for this is that they didn't just build up, creating those hugely visible landmark buildings and stories for every new district, but that they also built down.
We started to imagine how the form of the city could be affected by that, and it started kind of helped suggest a geography, an urban geography to the city, going all the way back to like the late 1600s. And then we started to think, okay, well, what were the major events in history that they would have reacted to? You know, is it the Revolutionary War? Is it the kind of exploitation of the West, like the building of the railroads? Like all of these ideas became part of that conversation and allowed us to kind of build layers of accreted history. And we built it up and we built it down. Like we said, okay, what's buried under the city? Like, what are the hidden secrets that you can find in the course of investigating the Court of Owls?
Naturally, the team isn't talking too much about what those buried secrets might be. but we see hints of it as we're shown Gotham's open world. A seemingly nondescript building might be a gang hideout, which leads to a tunnel system that brings you into an exit into Gotham that you would never have guessed at, for example.
We want the Court of Owls to feel like they're involved in everything. If you were to go to a major city in North America, like often they'll build a city on top of another one. Like Chicago, like they had the fire, they just built on top of it because it's not worth like rebuilding, destroying and rebuilding. So what the undergrounds allow us to do is kind of reveal that cross section of the city. So we have areas like that where you drop in, you keep going and you see things that you didn't know were there, that you didn't know the city was built on top of. And I think that's a really cool element. We try to allow the player to see kind of behind the scenes of the city, go under the surface, and as well as seeing it from up high from the bigger landmarks.
The result of all this work is that this take on Gotham aims to feel like a legitimate place, not just a sandbox for spandex crime fighting. We've heard before that this will be the largest Gotham ever made in game form, but that's not what the developers are proud of.
We made a very big Gotham.
Just a comment on that for a second. I think one of the best open world RPGs ever made is the Spider-Man game, which is finally coming to PC here in like a week or two, I think. And one of the reasons why it's the best, or one of the best open world RPGs ever made, is because of the verticality and what Spider-Man is able to do with the buildings and swing and climb and go up high, go low, and all stuff like that. And you look at a lot of other open world RPGs out there, and sure, you might have some hills, but it's generally a flat playing surface, right? So this game is essentially, I mean, that Spider-Man game has been out for a couple years. And so I'm sure they took a look at that game, which won a bunch of awards, and they're like, we can do that with Gotham City. But not only can we go up, we can go down. So that's very interesting.
Gotham City, but what I think is really unique to Gotham Knights is the density of it. Sometimes I will be searching for something or fighting a crime and not realize how close to me something else is happening that I'm going to want to interact with afterwards or before. There's just such a depth of nooks and crannies to explore inside our city, and I think that that's really unique to Gotham Knights.
The idea of a Gotham packed with references, miniature histories, and sinister mysteries is alluring. After all, this is the promise of a town with real backstory, that it's not just the people living there who'll help tell the story, but the city itself. Gotham has been many things to many people. It's appeared in comics, movies, and gaming worlds. It's been reinvented repeatedly, traveling through time with us from block color 40s issues of Detective Comics to the grey monoliths of Christopher Nolan's trilogy. But all of those versions of Gotham have been snapshots of a city in its current form. Perhaps the most interesting thing about Gotham Knights' version is that we won't just see the city as it is, but hopefully learn what it's been. We'll be covering Gotham Knights and offering exclusive footage all this month as part of IGN First. And if you want to see what we've already done, we have 16 minutes of the opening gameplay from the game, and we've revealed...
That was a really cool video. I enjoyed that. I didn't really know the deep level history of Gotham, so that was very cool. We got one more Gotham Knights trailer. And we've been going through the character trailers for Gotham Knights, and this is the last one. This is the one for Red Hood. So I'm going to be either playing as Robin or Batgirl. I'm not sure which, but JT, who I don't think is here tonight, has said many times he is playing Red Hood. So let's see what this character is all about. I actually don't even know that much about Red Hood.
Being dead, then brought back to life. It changed me. Some days I barely feel human, let alone a better man. But Gotham City needs me.
Almost got it!
he's got a bouncing bullet thingy.
This is what I trained for. Bruce gave me purpose. And I'll go to hell and back to see it through.
Step into the night.
Pre-order now and get the 233 custom Batcycle skin.
Just gotta wait till Halloween, basically, for that one. Yeah, cool stuff. I know I've said it a couple times. I just hope that game is good. It has the potential to be like something really special, or they could tank it. It's so hard to say. But for those who are watching on YouTube, that's gonna go ahead and do it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.